welcome to Leave Your Mark. I'm Scott Livingston, and today I have the honor of speaking with Charlie Weingroff. Charlie is a highly respected physical therapist, athletic trainer, and strength and conditioning coach, currently based out of several personal facilities in the New York City area. Charlie is a physical performance lead and head strength and conditioning coach for the Canadian men's national basketball team. Previously, he held roles Nike's Executive Performance Council, the United States Marine Corps Special Operations Command, and acted as head strength and conditioning coach for the Philadelphia 76ers of the NBA. He was also the director of athletic development for the Roddick-Grunberg Tennis Academy. Charlie has consulted for teams in all major North American sports, as well as Manchester United and Manchester City in the English Premiership League. He often lectures overseas, and his relationship with the Beijing Yanding Trading Company has brought him through mainland China for the last 5 years. Charlie's Training Rehab is considered to be a thought-leading model that brought the light of the value of medical, fitness, and science professionals all working together as one staff or unit. He has been a leading-edge practitioner in the world of human performance for many years now, and I'm honored to have him on the show today. Welcome, Charlie.
What's up, man? That's a whole lot of stuff you just read there. Very flattering. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's nice to, like I said before we got on, it's nice to it's a personal passion of mine and somewhat selfish part of this podcast is the opportunity to sit down with people that I respect in the human performance profession, but we don't always get chances to talk or run into each other. I've watched you speak, enjoyed your presentations and the work you do, and I got to know you circuitously through Sam Gibbs a little bit, who I know you work with the Canadian national team.
My best man.
Yeah, so
Sam is the best man in my wedding, and all of his kids are they also have a role in the Flower Girls and the Ring Bear. So. Yeah.
Did you just got married? You said.
Or? So obviously the current times. I don't know if it's like that there, but here I think the media makes people say certain things. So they say these uncertain times, and it's like that. I don't say that because it sounds really corny. The current situation is so my wedding proper has been moved now 3 times, so it's not going to be until around 11 months from now next year. But right before everything went down to a significant point, my wife and I got married at a justice of the peace. So we took care of that. So. Okay. She actually doesn't tell people so much because obviously there's still going to be a ceremony, but we will have already been officially married. But I could probably say it on every podcast for the next year, and no one will care because it'll still be a lot of fun when we do it live. But yeah, so yes, I am technically married, but we have not had the ceremony because of the virus.
Well, congratulations, and
thank you.
Good luck with the final party when it all comes together at the end.
Well, hey, ain't no luck. Ain't no luck needed because they won't give us our money back, so we're gonna have to have a party. No, the folks we're working with, they've been very good. Well, we have a very, very good planner who's certainly earning her money, but I think they've taken the approach that they'll do whatever you ask as long as it's possible to change the dates, but they're not going to give you your money back. So. Right. No luck required. There will be an event given the amount that we have already paid for.
Well, the good thing about the uncertain times is by the time you get there, the party will probably be astronomically impressive with everybody wanting the party.
Yeah, my Ali says that this is going to be the party of a lifetime because it might be the first party for a lot of people. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So, well, let's go back a little bit. Are you born and raised in New York, or did you just come circuitously to live?
Born in New York, but not raised. Okay. Raised in Toms River, New Jersey.
Okay.
Which somewhat for a tiny little, well, not tiny, but for a town in the Jersey Shore, I would prefer to be known for baseball, which is obviously is well known for that, but. It is the mainland town to Seaside Heights, from where Jersey Shore was filmed, and I have been to many of the places that are in that show. And people like that are like, I think what made Jersey Shore such a cool show was it's not made up. Now, I'm sure they're all like whacked out for the amount of alcohol they get, but the overall behavior is not like, it's not trumped up. Like, it's that's normal. So that
Yeah, I've
type
been
of
there a
behavior.
couple of times. I can attest to that for sure.
Yeah. So I grew up in Tom's River, and never really had a lot going on in the New York area. One year I came and lived in New Jersey in my working career, but then until I from Marine Corps about a decade ago is when that's when I started to work in New York.
Mm-hmm. So, what were your big influences growing up? Was sports a big influence for you, or?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And where did you play predominantly?
So my two sports, aside from other things that maybe you do for like 1 year, 2 years, I played hockey and I played baseball.
Okay.
So yeah, so if you play baseball in Tom's River, you don't suck. But it's I probably liked hockey better, but I played base. Yeah, those are the two sports. I was goalie, and then catcher and third base in baseball.
So were you a Rangers fan or an Islanders fan growing up?
Rangers. Yeah.
So who was your favorite Rangers goalie then? John Davidson or something? Or is that what?
John Davidson would have been the announcer during my time. I don't know how old do you think I am? I probably see. I don't really identify a big difference between John Van Beesbrook and Mike Richter, but
Beezer and Ricky. Yeah, okay.
I was. I mean, because they're both kind of little like me. But Beezer was probably smaller, and now neither of them were my favorite goalie. My favorite goalie was Dominic Hasek, just because he didn't really play like other people. So I described, and I wasn't as good in hockey as I was in baseball, but I described my goaltending style as a cross between Van Beesbrook, because at 5'0", I would have to come out like really, really far. But I played more like Hasek, where I didn't have to play like his, like where. I don't know what, there was a loose puck, probably couldn't have been 10 feet inside the blue line, and I was sprinting towards the other guy. So, and then, except I did a what do you call it, a poke check, yeah. Versus Hasek's famous play. He went feet first. I don't know what he was trying to do with it, but I made the play. So it's
nice.
Yeah, just love watching him play.
So, what's the influence for you to get into? Call it the human performance world. I'm kind of interested in unpacking which one came first, the trainer, the physical therapist, or the strength coach. What was your draw to that?
I probably have a cliche story where you figure you're an athlete and you're not gonna be an athlete playing the game forever. So how do you get to stay around sports? I mean, I don't really think there's anything more to it than that as far as how I tried to get into what I was doing. I don't know the answer to which came first, because I was always training. I was always well, at that point I wouldn't call it training. It was lifting. I was good. I was actually good at lifting, probably because of my levers and whatnot, and my dad coaching me. So I always lifted, and I always just lifted because it made me feel the way I wanted to feel. I was probably a fat kid, so I got into that, and I just felt like it made me a better baseball player and goalie. But then when I went to college, so like for you guys, it's called athletic therapist. In America, it's called certified athletic trainer. Mm-hmm. And that was what I went to. That was why I went to college. That was my game plan. Okay. And then from there, I figured I would, since most of the jobs are in college, I wanted to be either athlete trainer. But then I want to be a professor. Like I would get a PhD in something that would allow me to stay in that, and as an ATC. But then after my first year of, and I met my advisor. Her name was Dr. Tina Whalegum, and she said point blank, "Your grades are too good to not try to go to PT school. You're actually going to take all the same courses in your undergrad, just try to do that, because the worst thing that happens is that you're a more marketable athletic trainer, even if you never ever want to be a physical therapist. So good and bad. Good was that she was 100% right. And from the day, like every job I had was because I was an athletic trainer. Like it was an athletic trainer job, but I was ahead of the line because I had these other qualities. What she forgot to tell me was, don't tell people that when you're going to physical therapy school, because I didn't care. I didn't want to do. And look, physical therapy school was a joke. High school was harder for me than physical therapy school. But I had a hard time in physical therapy school because, one, I was an athletic trainer. America, there's terrible political between those two professions, and I didn't. They want to make you a generalist, and like I didn't want to be a generalist. I knew what I wanted to do, so she didn't tell me that part. But I know better now. I made my mistakes. So I would say I was an athletic trainer. So I was in the NBA two times. Even the second time, I started off as assistant athletic trainer. But then, I don't remember what year old, but this did not have a strength and conditioning coach. Now, I kind of always looked the part, and there are people way me, so I don't want to have too much bravado. But I was competing in powerlifting, so I kind of, all right, my arms weren't small. And because we didn't have a strength coach, I think because of how I looked, the players gravitated to me. Chuck Wagon, like, let's go get a workout in. But at that point, I knew how to lift. I knew how to coach lift. I was still a physical therapist and an athlete trainer. But when you're at the professional sports level, you're not, like, when you're doing it right, you're not reactive. Like you're using physical therapy methods, rehabilitation or recovery methods to maintain performance. It's not like somebody has surgery and you're reacting that way. So then after my first year in Philly, I got promoted to be the head strength coach, and that was around the same time that because of at least how I viewed the strength and conditioning coach position in the NBA at that time, I was able to get exposed to people that I look up to that had, whether you call it a movement-based approach or combining things that were strength and conditioning, a little bit of rehab, etc. And that's kind of how I kind of have the current mindset that I have, because it wasn't normal back then. I would say I don't. It's very flattering if people think I have influenced them, and I guess if you throw a couple, vodkas down my throat, yeah, like I guess I probably have, influenced a significant part of our profession. That doesn't matter. Everybody's going to win if we follow good things, but I still don't think anybody, like, I think I suck at explaining, how I think. Like I don't. Because I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that thinks the way I do. In terms of what it really is, like your original question about which came first. Like there's neither of them came first. There was always one thing, and I think there's, like, I get irritated with bridge the gap. There is no gap. First of all, I used that before anybody else. So I don't care about credit. It's just, that's just, there is no gap. And I was wrong. I should not have used that terminology. And plus the people that use it, I really don't respect very much. And then the other thing that irritates me is it's really good that there's physical therapists that understand how to coach lifts, even complex, athletic development lifts like Olympic lifting. I think that's awesome. That's not what I do. That's really good that they do that, so they can help people use physical therapy methods or understand their injuries and efficiency or inefficiency in their lifts. But I don't, like, that's a big difference than being able to, coach a kid from the time he's 13 until he's in the NBA. That's just two totally separate things, and I don't like being bucketed into like hybrid. I'm not a hybrid. Like, no, I'm Charlie. Like, and that's just So
Was there any particular individual that did influence your thought process, or did you come upon it through your own sort of trial and error and practice?
Oh, definitely, but it would not be because somebody said do this.
Right.
It was, oh man, I stumble because there's a potential lack of humility, but in what I want to say, so I have to dance a little bit because I do feel it's important to be respectful and make sure that what I'm saying is truly interpreted as intended. But I think I was probably able to see something in someone else's message that they didn't see. So like they did tell it to me. So like when I hear somebody, so I'll try to make this like a sensational thing. Like when I hear Louis Simmons talk, like there's so much that I hear that he's not saying that makes that is contributing, and that's because I've taken like I'm like, oh my god, like wait, say that again, rewind, and then like, oh my god, like that's what they said in this other seminar, and neither of them would ever be like 5,000 miles from each other in their methodology. And the influence would be all the same people that other people look up to, and they came before me. But I think it was more of I was able to see things that weren't in the words or the actual message, and it was because I had seen other things that were not in the words or the message. So if that makes me show hubris, then shame on me. But I think that's kind of the best way to answer.
Well, it's funny. I'm going to do something I generally wait to do till later in my podcast, but I was reading it before I came in, and it's the reason why I asked you what's your birthday, which I will not reveal to anybody because you asked me not to. But I will tell you that
I hate birthdays.
I know. I'm not celebrating your birthday. I'm just telling you that you're a Scorpio 9. Okay, so your purpose is to use the power of your ego to persuade others to follow your path, your dreams, and your desires, which include a vision of helping those in need. Wickedness is always easier than virtue, for it takes the shortcut everything. James Boswell. The Scorpio 9 likes to have things their way and with the least amount of fuss. They are direct and honest, even when they are doing something wrong. They know how to create their world, and when they're confident, no one can stop them. They also have charm and lots of sex appeal. Of course, they know how to use both to their advantage. If they lack faith and a strong sense of self, the reverse is a possibility, and others may overwhelm them. Protection and the ability to confront and fight are important. Impatient and restless, they seldom stop to reflect. They need to learn not to be afraid of solitude. Once they discover their true nature, their strength will be real and long-lasting. Hard work is needed to develop their talents. That's a little piece of you, sir.
Yeah, maybe you had me until sexy, or I'm like, that was me.
Well, we have to have your wife here to ask. Maybe that might be true.
So sometimes my wife is into astrology in a similar way, I guess, that you are. Like sometimes it's like, yeah, you can say that about anybody, but like, yeah, that obviously there was some things there that resonated that would be very, I would think would be accurate descriptors of me.
Yeah, well, I mean, having bounced into you from time to time and heard you lecture, you have a very direct sort of approach to the way you express yourself, and a sense of confidence in what it is that you express. And I think that's a strength that you have that allows you to sort of progress and move forward with the things that you want to do, and to move and change things the way you have in your influence. Was there ever a moment when you were younger that you kind of ran into that being a limiting factor for you, or a challenge that maybe just feeling that sense of confidence or whatever it was challenged you in some way, shape, or form?
I'm hesitant to say confidence, but yeah, like all of my failures, I could look back and like I could say, like today I would have done it differently, but back then I would have done it. I thought I was doing it the best way possible, and yeah, like I mean, there was times. I remember somebody said to me, like, Charlie, can you turn it off for one day? Like, just, it's almost like don't let excellent be the enemy of good kind of thing. Where I'm like, dude, this is so wrong. And like, other people would agree that it was wrong and inefficient, or there was a better way to do it. But I wasn't in a position of power, and today I'm still not. In now maybe I'm in more often I'm in situations, but it just I think it's if I had it's like this backhanded analysis of my working career, or maybe even before then too, as in college or high school or whatever. That if I like, what would you tell your younger self? I should keep my mouth shut. Except if you keep your mouth shut, two things happen. Number one, you clearly are not being part of the solution. And I'm not on the current path where I feel very good about currently, today as we speak, maybe not tomorrow, of my self-awareness. And it's impossible to be self-aware when your tank is, your mind, body, and spirit tank is not full. So, like maybe I'd still be in the NBA, even though I can't think of anything that I did that would lead me to either not get a new deal, or not be of interest at this point. Except I wouldn't have done all these other things if I was in the NBA. So it's an interesting way of looking back at it. But yeah, like, I mean, it's like the bane of my existence. Like I remember being in Marsoc, and it was a shit show from the start. And I was like, why did you bring me here? Like, if you didn't want any of this, like, why did you? What a joke, So, so
how does your first opportunity in the National Basketball Association happen for you? Like, what you're working where, and how does that sort of spin its tires for you?
So when I did I'll go back even further because it's probably an interesting story. So I graduated college in 3 years. So what would have been my second year, which was really my third year, you had to do like a capstone. Like, you had to get an internship that was for credits, and you had to do certain things. They had to agree to all of it, blah, blah, blah. So I went to a physical therapy clinic in Toms River that it was called Health South. It's a company that's not around anymore. And that was like where sports medicine happened. They spent all this money to like sponsor every team. It was all bullshit, but they didn't give me the time of day. And actually, my brother, who I think was getting rehab there for his shoulder, they didn't give me the time of day. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So my uncle was getting physical therapy at a place down the street, because it's like the healthcare road. So there's a whole bunch of places. And they said yes. So doing my thing, for about a week or so, 2 weeks. Charlie, everybody here loves you. We'll give you $10 an hour if you can work every day. Just don't tell your school, because it would be against the rules. And you're still going to do all the things that you would do for your internship, but we'll pay you. You just have to work this. So, okay. So now I have this relationship, and the therapist's name was Joe Napolitano, and he's the mind you now, like, everybody's got this like outlier story. Like, if nothing, you're not talking to me today if I go to Health South. Maybe someone else will be talking to me, but not you. So I'm working there as a tech, as an aide, and then in 1998 was my second year of physical therapy school, and there was a minor league in basketball. It was called the United States Basketball League. It would be like AA in baseball, and it went from like pretty much March to June, or April to June, July, something like that. And the team doctors that won the opportunity to be there, they were the main referral source for Joe. They said, Joe, do you have any athletic trainers? Because I was already an athletic trainer from my undergrad. They're like, yes. I become the trainer for a minor league basketball team. So that's 98. And the head coach was Rick Barry, top 50 player, one of the greatest of all time. And the assistant coach was Clifford Ray, who played with Rick in Golden State. Clifford was Rookie of the Year in 1975 with the Bulls. So I'm now getting exposed to professional basketball and have two NBA coaches. And so I graduated PT school in '99, and I'm talking with Clifford because very close. Very disappointed I don't keep in better touch with him today as I think about it. I said, Clifford, a couple of years ago you were an assistant coach with the Nets, and with Coach Butch. Butch Beard was the head coach. I said, I'm kind of into this basketball thing. Maybe the athletic trainer. You can give him a call or something. Because I always thought I was either going to go to the military, I was going to go to the NFL as an athletic trainer, or be a pediatric physical therapist. Pretty cool. All of those things have happened at a fairly high level. So check. Anyway, I call the athletic trainer with the Nets. I called him. His name was Ted Arzonico, and I called him on a Thursday. And I'm like, Clifford Ray, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing this down in Asbury Park. I interviewed with him in person on Friday. So one day after I called him. So that Sunday I was in the NBA, and that's how that happened. So it's a longer story, but maybe a little bit more interesting than if I started towards the end. So that's how I got that. That's how I got that opportunity. Through the year, I was not full time, and then at the end of the year, I did the USBL again because I always tried to do something that I could do to be as close to the NBA as I could. So if I need to get more experience in the minor leagues, then that's what I was going to do. Now that didn't help me, but that was what I thought to do at the time. And Ted got fired. Ted was let go. So I get a call. We're going over. We're because in minor leagues you're a lot of things, and so I was driving the van. We were on our way to a game in the USBL, and one of the ops guys calls me, Ian Rubel, and he's like, Charlie, we fired Teddy. John Nash wants to know if you can be here tomorrow. Yeah, and so that summer, I'm very comfortable putting on my resume, despite never really being given the name, was interim head athletic trainer. So now that's the summer of 2000, and but I did everything that the head trainer would do, and that's I was not retained after that period of time, and then went to the minor leagues, and then went back to the NBA a couple years later.
When you look back at that time, what impressed you about that experience, and what disappointed you about it?
Well, look, to be 21, 22 years old, and being on charter flights and being around NBA superstars, and just being in a world that is so exclusive. I mean, I remember, man, waking up at 5:15 in the morning ain't so bad. When you're going, and there's bars everywhere, and all the Gatorade you can drink, and the gym, and man, oh my God, I'm 22, 23, and this is it. I did it. I mean, I remember the first time I got on the plane. Getting a bag of gear, and having in the training room every supply you could possibly imagine, and oh my God, I wish I had this. Oh yeah, it's in the third drawer down on the right. I'm like, oh my God, and I remember we had a team meeting, and these are things that are from 2000, 1999. I'm recounting. That's how easily I remember it, how impactful. Where Teddy, we had all been together for a little bit, but we had a big team meeting in training camp, which was in Atlantic City, and Ted introduced me again, saying, hey, you guys can go to, you can go see Charlie, he knows what he's doing. It was something like that. I'm like, holy fuck, this dude just said in front of, at that time, Keith Van Horn and Stephon Marbury, and these were our top players, and it was man, I did this. Now it turns out that right now, I mean, I'm in the league now for a couple of weeks, and I started to see that how good you are. There's a lot more pushing people off the ladder than helping them up. and I would just, so now, there was a period of time where I wasn't really involved during the year, and I'm like, and then Teddy gets fired, and here, maybe this was an bravado and confidence, and I'm like, yo, if that dude kept me around, I would have saved him from being fired. He never would have got fired, and he would have got to stay in New Jersey where he grew up, and he had his collection of antique fire engines, and he could live where he wanted, and what I found, and it's to this day, maybe it doesn't revolve around me anymore, but where um, people don't, like, they look at other people as a threat to to what they have, other than someone that can truly make them look good.
Hmm.
And like, I don't know. If I can help you be better, like, why do you think I don't, like, I'm happy with what I have, like, so and that really hurt, and it still does, particularly because it's still there. Whether it does affect me or it doesn't affect me is irrelevant. It's a very real thing there.
So as a baseball / hockey guy, what do you fall in love with in basketball?
I mean, I don't know. I just grew up as an adult, a young adult in basketball. So I don't know. I mean, I never, like I said, I always wanted to be in football. I wanted to be in the military. I don't remember there being anything specifically that gravitated to basketball, other than that's where the opportunity was.
Hmm.
And if I didn't like it, I probably would not have continued, or I would have just marched myself out by behaving in an appropriate way because I didn't enjoy the experience. So I don't really know, but like now it's like I'm known as a basketball guy, and I just don't know any other way. Like there's nothing. Now look, maybe over the last several years, football, basketball, football, golf, tennis, and then if I count four fingers on one hand, I'll put powerlifting on the other because I don't consider powerlifting the same as those sports. So that's where I've had significant opportunity to impact very, very high levels. And I don't. People ask, like, where would you, like, what do you like the best? I'm like, I always say basketball because that's just where I grew up as in my 20s. But I don't know there's nothing really about the sport. Like I could watch, a hot reel of any sport and be like, and be enthralled as a fan. But I don't know.
How do you get involved with the Canadian national basketball team then? How does that come around?
So Sam was in the league around the same time as I was, and I honestly don't remember really having much of a relationship with him. I certainly remember the name, and he also probably had a little bit similar story as me in terms of maybe how his skill set was or was not appreciated, and which then led to further non-opportunities. And I don't remember the year, but it had to have been around somewhere between like 09 and 10 because I started in the summer. I started somewhere in around 10, 11 with Canada basketball. He called, and this was around the time that Canada basketball really got a big reboot, where Steve Nat became a prominent front office executive. There was a lot of money put into the organization. Jay Triano came back. That's my coach, and a lot of money was involved. And at that time, Sam had probably been already 10, 12 years as the head athletic therapist. And he's like, would you want to be a part of this? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, and now here's this. At the time, I probably didn't really think that way, but now I'm very spiritual. It's like, okay, God doesn't want me in the NBA, but he does want me to be in basketball. Nothing happened for like a year. Like it didn't happen yet. And then, there was a camp that had every stud that you could imagine. And it's like on Facebook somewhere there's pictures, and it's like, oh my God, there's like Tristan at the age of 15 or something, and I'm exaggerating. I don't think it was that long ago. And And that was my first, like, it turns out that when, in much more recent conversations, whatever Sam knew about me, whether it was my clinical approach, which again is very difficult for me to actually explain, or something about me personally, or because maybe we had a very similar go at it early in our careers in the NBA, he's like, I knew I couldn't do this without you. And Sam is my boss. And then to learn from someone like him that, what it's like to be a boss, and then allow other people, because like at any point, anybody in Canada basketball performance staff could be carrying the football. So that's how I got in, and that camp was awful. Not from a personal experience, but it was just poorly. And a few months before that, it was the lockout in the NBA, and we had what we call a pro camp. We were doing a lot of pro camps where the Nike signed players would use one of their appearances to come work with Spark, which had been rebooted, and it was really just this performance consortium with some of the most amazing. I mean, I look back at, like, I remember when I introduced myself, I was like, man, me and Keith used to play wiffle ball in Boston Summer League, and I'm on the list with people like Marco Cardinale. I mean, this is unbelievable. I feel like this is the first time I'm allowed to sit at the adult table at Thanksgiving. So I told Sam, I said, like, dude, there's even videos of what we did. We know how to run a camp. Like, no one here is getting better. People are just here showing up because whatever year that was, there was no World Championships or Olympics for Canada basketball. They either didn't qualify or whatever. And I said, why don't that later that summer? There was it was called the university team. Jay was going to coach, but it would have like players that were either going into college or leaving college. It's not for international basketball. It's like every 4 years. It's not a big thing. And I said, like, it's in China, so why don't we, like, we're a Nike team. Jay is assistant coach in Portland. Like, there's too much going on here that we shouldn't make this happen. Me and Keith, Keith D'Amelio, one of my very, very best friends, I said, like, we'll run the camp and we'll show you, like, what I'm talking about here. And Portland is on the way to China, so you're going to cut the time zone up a little bit. And later, that's exactly what happened. It got subsidized, the right way between Nike and Canada basketball. And the methodology that Keith and another fellow that came through Toronto, but he's from Northern Paul River, the methodology that they started is lock, stock, and barrel the methodology that I use and that we have in Canada basketball today, which was born from Spark. And obviously, that's no longer a department in Nike the way it was when we were there. So that's that's how that all happened. What made Sam call me? I don't know, but he has said some incredibly flattering things that like when I said, Sam, this is shit. This is total shit. And he'll tell other people, it's like, I knew that you would say that. That's why I wanted you here. I knew you wouldn't be afraid to say that. Whereas some of the condescent that I use from previous discussion here is like, in the NBA, people don't do that. Like, you just get thrown out. Like, if you just, like, you're not complaining, you're just trying to make things better. And if that type of commentary is not welcome within a machine, well, then the whole thing is jacked, and the whole thing is F. So Sam and I are a team, and we have interviewed together for multiple situations. We've also interviewed independently, and there was one time that, like, there was a team that said, well, we don't even have enough for one of you. And then it's like, you know what? Things aren't so bad, because how we are recognized at Canada basketball from a performance and the numbers don't, like, I know I say, like, this is like in-house data. This isn't like independent research, and I'm controlling the narrative of how I am reporting this information. But there is no city in the world that develops more elite young basketball players than the city of Toronto. And there's a lot to do with that. And one of the things is the performance program from Canada basketball. And that is not debatable. So that's pretty cool. Like we have the most aside from the United States, we define young elite basketball player by Division One NCAA, and the city this year we were tied. Last year, well, whatever this year, last year, I don't remember what year we're talking about, but Chicago had 92 and we had 88. This is city, not country, city, and Chicago has 3 million more people than Toronto, and there is no definable organization that lives in the city of Chicago like Canada Basketball, which is headquartered out of Toronto. You know, like our purpose is to do things like that, which is spread the sport, the quality of the sport. The following year, which would have been the most recent measure, I'm pretty sure it was 92 to 92. We were tied with Chicago. But more importantly, we are the only city on the list of like the top 10 represented in Division One that has an upward slope, meaning every year we have more players, whereas every other city is all over the place, which tells us that we are. I'm saying we're trying to do this, and here's the data that says we're succeeding. I don't even think they're trying, because if they are trying, they really suck compared to what we're doing, and that doesn't happen without my relationship with Sam Gibbs, because nobody can do this on their own, and more importantly, no one can do this without the interference and the management, because that's not my role. My role is like the architect. I'm the but I can't accomplish things without Sam.
Yeah, well, Sam's a good and humble man. I've known him for a while, and always enjoy his company. You've been consulting around the world with different pro teams and stuff, and I'm curious in your personal experience, and then with some of the consulting you've done, have you ever run into a pro organization that does call it that spectrum of performance A to Z really well?
Let me see. Well, there's look, I don't know every team. Like, I don't know, when and put it this way, I have yet to find an organization that, number one, I've been to. So that's a very small amount compared to all the different organizations. That's the reality. It's a very, very small sample size that has this good reputation of things that maybe represent what I believe in that are anywhere close. Like they don't just because your medical people don't just because they don't try to stab their fitness people in the back doesn't mean they get along. Just because there's comfortable discussions and sometimes people have dinner together, that is so not what we're talking about. Like, no, I don't know that there's a situation where every single staff member, if given a set of parameters, we would all say almost the exact same thing. That doesn't mean everybody uses the same techniques, but I don't know. No one is, and part of it too, like we don't have the barrier of career. Like nobody in Canada basketball is doing this for a career. This is all a side thing. And we're all very lucky that we have the ability to take time away so we can go to camps and windows, etc. We're not doing this because we're getting paid through the nose, like so other situations. Like in America, an athletic trainer, their average salary is like $50,000, if that. You might be making $250,000. You're going to act a certain way that protects your own personal assets rather than the growth of the team. So no, I don't think there's ever been a team that proclaims to have this integrated performance program that is nearly as integrated as it could be if they had the right system in place, which requires great people. And no, so I don't know. I mean, is anywhere close? I mean, there's people that will want to do it. And the real problem, especially now today, versus maybe when it was when some of the stories I was telling you earlier in the late '90s, through social media and through the dissemination of information, there's organizations that have this incredibly positive reputation, and it's just total like false. Like it's totally ridiculous. Like because when you're in the world, you kind of know you learn things. One of those teams I interviewed for, and they said to me, Charlie, you have a really good thing going on in Canada basketball. Are you sure you really want to do this? I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, why, like you gave me an interview here. What is, I accepted this interview. Like how in the world? Yeah, because the reality is that at that point they knew that I wasn't going to be the right person because, even though they say they're looking for certain things, or there was another NBA team. They were interested in both Sam and I. They said, we want somebody who's a physical therapist. Okay, so they were actually, there might have been some questionable professionalism because they were asking me a lot about Sam. I said, you should be asking him, like, because in Canada, physical therapy isn't the same. Like, it's just different. Like, it's not that like, the techniques are different. It's just not as robust a profession because you have osteopathy, you have kinesiologists, you have other things. So they wanted a physical therapist, they wanted MBA experience, and they want someone with leadership history. I'm like, okay, well, I run a over $1 million business, single person. Not that I make $1 million revenue, is that? And I have a tip of the spear award from the United States Marine Corps Special Operations Command. Maybe you want to look into my leadership. There might be something there. And then they so this is exactly what they're looking for. And we talked about numbers, we talked about money, and the fellow this one was a headhunter. He's like, hey, I'm going to have to go back to the team that if they want what they're looking for, they're going to have to significantly increase the money. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not like, at that point when that interview happened, I felt like I was really on the high ground. So it was fine. Like I didn't really, it wasn't, if the opportunity didn't come through, then it was okay. And, so there's teams that say they want to do these things, and there's definitely eyes on what we're doing in Canada basketball. But I think when they really find out what it really takes, which is great people, which is a very unique thing. Like it's like, how do you find the right people? That's the magic. It's not that because now, if you find the right people that actually have some really good skills, then it's even more special. You got to find the right people.
Last question. You do a lot of teaching now. What is kind of your mission now in this next part of your life and career? What are you trying to accomplish?
I really would like to be able to start to map out the path to not retiring, but working how and when I want to. Right now, I'm not in that situation. And a lot of that is I'm mentored in a very particular way. I'm also from the East Coast of the United States. Money matters. I'm not materialistic. I'm not cheap, but money matters. And I need to continue to try to serve, but also serve what is going to be important for my wife and I by paving a way. Because I can't imagine retiring, but I could imagine working less, which I'm learning about like right now, which is, wow, this doesn't suck, except it will suck if it continues because I'm not going to have, enough resources to do other things. But that's really what I want to do, and then however I can do that, because I think when I have that, which adds to my personal safety, I'm going to be a better and a more healthier voice to talk to you in something like this, to talk to young people, to talk to pieces of garbage that I maybe won't communicate in the way that maybe I have in the past, not maybe as you say as direct, and be more apathetic and not make them feel like they deserve to be felt, because it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me make someone else, even though they deserve it. And there's clear, look, zebra doesn't change its stripes. Okay. I wish we could record some of these conversations I have with people sometimes, because once I know it's going a different direction, I might just start toying with them like a cat. Not because I'm such a brilliant psychological communicator. I'm like, dude, this is just ridiculous what they're talking about. So yeah, that's I want to be able to set myself up where I can do what I want, when I want, and how I want, and I just think I'll be even more effective, and be able to do what people have done for me, which really funnels into when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I was ready at certain times, and some amazing people, kind of laid this out for me. And I just hope that I keep hitting base hits. Maybe I don't hit a home run all the time, but if I can keep fouling off pitches and put one into the opposite field, at least I got a chance to steal second.
Well, I think that's a good way to finish. Thank you, sir,
Yeah.
for giving me your time today, and I wish you the best with these strange times, and hopefully they remedy themselves soon. And congratulations on your wedding, and enjoy the party when it finally does come.
You got it, man.
Say hello to Sam for me. Be good.
Will do. All right.
Thank you.